Our world is growing exponentially. This increase in population and consumption has put a tremendous strain on our energy resources. It is becoming more and more important to begin thinking of other energy resources before it is too late, or finding other ways to utilize renewable energy resources. Our current consumption depicts that we are utilizing oil, natural gas, and coal rather heavily. These resources are pushing towards depletion since our consumption has risen drastically over the past couple of years. This increase in consumption means that we must begin to explore other alternatives if we are able to sustain our planet and our growing population. Here is our prediction for 2035, which depicts a larger amount of renewable energy sources being used in order to combat with our decreasing supply of coal, oil, and natural gas. Our group will go into further detail on how this can take place as we share our transitional roadmap.
I highly recommend the United States begin the conversion process away from fossil fuels to renewable energies. Currently, coal is a key fossil fuel in 40% of U.S. electrical generation and is a primary emitter of greenhouse gases. Extracting coal affects our natural environmental systems. It disrupts our ecosystem services, such as deforestation for strip mining or mountaintop mining processes that ultimately lead to acid drainage. In addition, burning high carbon content coal emits tremendous greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, which leads to global warming, causing climate change. Conversely, coal has a significant advantage over many other energy sources, as it has an extremely attractive energy return on investment ratio. However, keep in mind, our best investment is clean air and a clean environment. Converting from coal to nuclear power is my recommendation to the panel. The process of nuclear fission provides clean, renewable power with zero airborne emissions. Plus, nuclear power is sustainable in the foreseeable future, where coal has a finite availability. Nuclear power has a modest energy return on investment ratio, primarily driven by the high startup capital investment. Mitigation through appropriate legislation of taxes and subsidies can lower the technology entrance cost for both public and private investment. Nuclear power currently represents 19% of the U.S. electrical generating demand, but its current technical embracement lags the world.
In addition to the transition from coal to nuclear power, we would like to recommend the utilization of solar power to support residential, commercial, and industrial energy needs. As many already understand, solar energy is the most abundant energy resource on Earth. The amount of solar energy available is so large that it overshadows the world's total energy use more than 10,000 times. Needless to say, it would be logical to consider this resource as an increasingly viable option as our non-renewable resources are falling. The attainability of solar systems for residential applications has increased within the last decade, and the cost associated with conversion to solar power has decreased to a reasonable level. If the permitting, zoning, and initial connection costs could be brought down further, there would be no significant obstacles from a monetary or process standpoint that would prevent a large-scale conversion. The U.S. Department of Energy's Sunshot Initiative is working on resolving these issues, and within 20 years should be able to not only reduce the costs and permitting, but assist in conversions of states throughout our nation. Our overall suggestion of 12% solar energy use is easily attainable given the amount of solar energy available and the reduced cost to convert. We would also like to suggest the use of hydrogen at 17% of total energy resources by 2035. Hydrogen holds its own impressive level of availability as the most abundant element in the universe. There are many sources of hydrogen that can be used to fulfill our energy need at 17% and can also be stored and transported to satisfy energy needs at a later time or in different locations. If executed properly, hydrogen can be clean and non-toxic. These variables depend on the electricity source used for the extraction of the hydrogen. Also, if executed properly, hydrogen fuel cells can be utilized at an efficiency rate of 90%. We have already seen examples of how hydrogen can be used to operate transportation vehicles safely through Germany's implementation of hydrogen-fueled buses. These vehicles produce only water and heat as their waste product. This makes a significant positive impact on the amount of emissions produced via the transportation industry.
Coal is a fossil fuel that is utilized to generate electricity. However, coal is not a renewable resource. Therefore, our suggestion is to convert that usage of coal over to a more renewable resource like wind power. By 2035, wind power will contribute to 14% of total energy. As the sun heats air in the atmosphere, the movement of differentiated heat air masses produces wind. This makes it possible for us to harness wind power from air's movement by utilizing wind turbines, mechanical assemblies that convert the wind's kinetic energy into electrical energy. Much like solar energy, wind provides just a small portion of the world's power needs, but wind power is growing fast. Global production of wind power has been in fact doubling every 3 years, making wind power have multiple benefits. It produces no emissions once the equipment is manufactured and installed. Wind power is also very efficient under optimal conditions since its energy returned on investment is high. Most studies have found that wind turbines in fact produce roughly 20 times more energy than they consume. This EROI value is better than most other forms of energy sources. Wind farms also use less water than do conventional power plants. Another benefit of wind power is that these technologies can be used on many scales, from a single tower for local use to farms of hundreds that supply large regions. Small-scale turbine development can help make local areas more self-sufficient, just like solar energy. Another benefit is that farmers and ranchers can lease their land for wind development. A single turbine can bring in $2,000 to $4,500 in annual royalties. Offshore wind farms are also beneficial since offshore winds tend to be stronger yet less turbulent. Producing more offshore sites seems promising for our future in wind power. Wind power can incur some upfront expenses, but they incur fewer expenses in the long run, making it more beneficial. These wind developments can also create more jobs for Americans. Our oceans are home to several underexploited energy sources resulting from continuous natural processes. One of 4 approaches being developed involve motion. We can harness energy from tides, waves, and currents. Therefore, we suggest that hydroelectric power be up to 3% in 2035. This may seem like a rather low calculation. However, we believe with the right research, funding, and implementation, this energy source will be proven to be an integral part in decreasing our reliance on coal. The development of harnessing energy from tides, waves, and currents can prove to be beneficial if implemented properly in areas that experience high ocean movement. While wave energy has its benefits, it also is very expensive. This means that it is not as effective on its EROI. However, tidal energy is emerging in other countries which generate electricity from water moving in both directions. For instance, South Korea has a successful facility and is the largest tidal generating station in the world. We urge that we begin to dedicate more research and funding into hydroelectric power in order to harness our ocean's energy sources more effectively. That way, we can use kinetic energy from natural motion of the ocean to generate electrical power. In conclusion, conversion now brings sustainability later. Let's begin to convert our energy resources before it is too late. Let's start by investing more into renewable energy sources in order to achieve future sustainability for generations to come.